Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle. My co-host, they may show up for this one. I'm not really sure. The title of tonight's episode is The Big Loss. Immediately following Washington losing in big fashion 55-23 to the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. Before we get into everything, just wanted to say the Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. You know, it's funny, when the second matchup of the season, that game really started out poorly. And that was probably one of Washington's worst starts to the year with like multiple fumbles. But like this game in particular is eerily similar to it. It brings me back to the Keanu Reeves quote in The Replacements when he talks about his greatest fear being quicksand. When something happens bad and something else happens, and then another one, and before you know it, you're in over your head and you have no way to get out. And that's essentially what tonight felt like for Washington, giving up 7 rushing touchdowns overall in the day. That's just putrid. I said earlier last week or earlier in the week that the road to the Super Bowl is through the ground, and obviously the Eagles showed you that MO today, holding Washington to 99 yards rushing. It's unfortunate because the turnovers are the tale of the day. But honestly, this game just started out very poorly for Washington. The first drive was great. I thought they did a good job of being able to dissect the defense, pick things up a little bit, get down the field. Obviously, they went for it on multiple fourth downs, but then you're almost like, why go for the field goal there? Like, I was honestly surprised that we went for the field goal there. I thought the best chance that you had was by keep going for a touchdown. And you could kind of see in a game against Philly with this kind of offense that you don't want to allow those points off the board because you want to still be in a controlling aspect of this game. But unfortunately, they kick the field goal. Look, they get the field goal. That's great. But then immediately following that Barkley touchdown, this is something that has plagued Washington a little bit over the past couple games, has been their ability to set the edge in the run game where you're going to the outside. You have to be able to contain that leverage where you have the leverage to the outside where you're taking that away from Saquon to the point where Saquon would have to go backwards to get to the sideline. That's what you want to kind of create for Saquon. Instead of allowing that sideline to be a clear view, you want to get ahead of that, right? And you want to get on that side to make him have to adjust inside or go backwards, which is what your goal inevitably is. But Washington, as of late, has had a really tough time of being able to get those kind of leverages on those outside runs, and Philly took advantage of that tonight. I know a lot of people are going to bring up the penalties, the refs, the issues that there were. Look, there were plenty, including that crazy quote, which blew my mind. I had no idea this was possible, that the refs could just give points to the offense and the defense was just being difficult. Like, that's kind of crazy, man. But all in all, I know I'm upset. I wanted to see Washington continue to go. I wanted to see them play some more. And I thought today was not a great effort on their part. But you have to give credit to Philly where it is due, where there were plays that they just outright won. But at the end of the day, this was Washington lost this game in a big way. But those turnovers by themselves are huge thorns. And not only the turnovers, Washington led in penalties with 9 penalties for 47 yards, where Philly was only 5 for 30. That was a huge difference in these sort of drives that kind of derailed things going all the way down. But the second drive for the defense and the first drive for the offense, I thought were microcosms for how the game was going to go. Whereas Washington did not have those big plays available to them that they typically find a way to create. And obviously the Terry McLaurin touchdown is something in itself. That guy deserves his own game beer as much as he's not going to give himself one. 3 receptions, 51 yards, 1 touchdown on 7 targets. But that one play, that huge play where he just is able to break through tackles across the field, that was Washington's probably biggest play of the day. And this defense for Philly really made it difficult for Washington to push down the field, right? You look at their third down, 7 for 17, 4 for 6 on fourth down. And the other stat that really tells you about forcing Washington to have to go bit by bit, have to go little by little, stay patient in their offense is the fact that Zach Ertz was their leading receiver today. 11 receptions, 104 yards on 16 targets. Terry only had 7, but Zach Ertz had 16, which tells you ultimately that Philly did a very good job of trying to limit everything outside. They try to limit the big play. They try to limit the sideline. And so what they did is they allowed that middle of the field kind of crossers and outs and stuff work themselves out. And that's what you ultimately see here is that Washington struggled to really be able to capitalize on things and be able to create big plays in order to build up momentum. And they really forced them to have to go down the field and earn what they did get. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the team altogether fumbling, turnovers, putting the defense in a bad position. We saw this in the first matchup against the Eagles where at the end of the fourth quarter, everything just kind of falls apart, and that kind of happened again tonight. But at this point, man, you can, in my honest opinion, you can't get mad at them. They worked their ass off this year. They made a lot of special things happen. And as much as getting 55 put on you in a championship game sucks. You know that there were plays left out there that should not have been left out there, right? And we could go all day, but they are way above. They succeeded way above anybody will give them credit for. And I know the winning a mindset of you always want to win. You go in with the mindset to win. Of course, that's what you want. But at the end of the day, you also have to look back to say it's kind of amazing what they did to get here, right? I mean, everything that they did, it just goes to show you how difficult it is to win in the NFL and to get to the next level. It's not easy at all. And so Washington deserves a lot of credit for getting to the NFC Championship game, but they do not get credit for really taking advantage of the opportunity of being on that stage. And that's the unfortunate part is all season whenever they've been presented with a stage, they've usually done a great job. They've stepped up to the plate and really put out for Washington. But tonight, it was just that quicksand effect where things just balled out of control. But at the end of the day, look, man, this was the best football season I've ever witnessed as a Washington fan. And I'm not going to go into work tomorrow with my head low or anything like that. Chin's going to be high, dude. We had a hell of a season. We got our asses spanked the NFC Championship game, but I'd take that over not making the playoffs at all, to be perfectly honest with you. So who cares about the draft pick? I'm trying to build success and winning, and getting to the NFC Championship game is a hell of a start to be able to do that. Now, I want to get into some fan questions as we go along here. This first one was submitted by our guy, Mr. Tony Franchise. And I thank you, Tony. You've been consistent all season long, man. What's your biggest takeaway from this unlikely season? And what are you looking forward to from here? What's my biggest takeaway from this season? It honestly would be the combination of the players that were brought in, whereas the guys that were staying over from this season, from the previous seasons, stayed, and the guys that came on board, they all were motivated to get together and make a winning product. I think that is the biggest takeaway you can ever take. And at the center of that nucleus is Jaden Daniels, and really just everything meshing and working together. They did some things this season that nobody expected them to, and nobody honestly should have, but they really overexceeded. And a lot of credit to everyone involved for getting them to this point. The collection of players, the motivation behind them all, that's my biggest takeaway from this season. And then looking forward, you don't want this to get to your head to the point where this is what it's going to be like all the time, right? But that being said, Washington has like the fourth most cap space heading into the offseason. They didn't do a lot of shopping last offseason, of course, right? But this offseason, they might be able to go in there and get some playmakers, of course. But what I'm looking forward to is just being able to get better, seeing this team really start to come together. And when you have that leadership at the top that sets those standards to say this is how we do things, this is how we're going to operate, it really helps in this first year to win the way that you do, because the guys like Jaden Daniels, who've already solidified themselves as leaders on this team in their first year, like Mikey Samerstill, they have credit to their name. Like, they made it to the NFC Championship game. When a young guy comes through eager to learn, that's someone that you can really depend on and listen to. And that, on top of it all, is something you really looking forward to, that standard has been set by a first-year player, and that's going to continue to be the standard set. That is something that you should really look forward to with this football team, is they are going to be up to the challenge. They are not going to shy away from anything, of course, but tonight was hard to muster. But honestly, next season is very, very bright. So it sucks the way tonight ended, but the good thing is that tomorrow's another day is going to rise, and Washington has an opportunity to get better in a very good way, and I'm very excited to be able to see what that really entails, to be perfectly honest with you. Now let's go to our next question, and this one in the Discord, submitted by Tim Towner. As we head out of the postseason, what is your most encouraging takeaway from what we have started to build? I mean, I've already talked about it with Tony. I should have read these over before I got here. I'm sorry. That was hard to watch, man. But it is the nucleus at the end of the day. It's the nucleus that they've built. And that was my one thing that I wanted them to really take away from this season was just the gelling of all the players together and the mindset and the standard, and that's what they have developed here. So, yeah, that's my most encouraging thing. Who are we going to lose, and do you care if they go? Also, we have 7 picks. Name 7 players who need to go. I would say probably Percy. I would put to one. Sorry, I've been under the weather the past couple of days. 7 players that need to go. Oh, that's hard, man. Because like these guys achieved a lot together, of course. But it's hard to say. Oh, my goodness, you're making me think. I think Clellan Ferrell possibly. I think we need more speed on the edge. Probably Derek Forrest is going to go. Probably Percy Butler. Benjamin St. Just. I think that's 4. I'm not sure about John Bates and what they do with John Bates looking forward. Whew. Now, that'd be a difficult one. Mike Davis, I think for sure. You snip him out. My goodness, I don't know really who else, Tim. And that's probably like ones you could bank on to say that they're probably going to end up doing that just because of how the season looks at the moment. But that is neither here nor there, of course. So let's get into what happened in the game. I was taking notes during. And for the second drive, that 3rd and 2, B-Rob run was huge. And then that was a Diami Brown fumble. And Diami has done such a great job this season, especially in the postseason, of getting us to this point, right? He even helped out afterwards. But that's that sort of fumble where you're saying, you are doing too much, brother. Just turn that upfield and get down. Turn that upfield, get down, slide. Just get as many yards as you can. But don't be extending it over to that side. You're not going to be outrunning anybody. And the name of the game is to get what you have and the most that you possibly can and take that. And unfortunately, Diami tried to get more, which costed them the ball. And we know the mantra, the ball is life, right? And then the second Barkley touchdown, which was disgusting. Tress Way getting his first completion, which was a beautiful ball, by the way, to not to John Bates, to Ben Sinnott. That was beautiful. Faked it perfectly. I thought that was timed perfectly. But ultimately, I think Washington ended up getting a field goal on them, made it 14-6. And then Philly came back and missed their field goal. Another penalty, just continuing to push things along for everybody. Frankie Louvu getting a sack on that one that made it on that 3rd and 6. He was a menace out there tonight, man. Jumping over the line of scrimmage, which was absolutely crazy, man. I'll never forget that moment with that ref saying that. I mean, it's just funny because with the tush push, like, you have to create that wedge, and you're Frankie obviously is trying to do everything in his power to win for the team and tries to jump over that pile way too many times. But that's Frankie, dude. Like, we're gonna just keep coming at you, trying to stop it any way we can. And obviously, it worked the first time. That wasn't a penalty, but that was the games that they were playing tonight, and Frankie deserved credit on that one. And then the touchdown to McLaurin, that's Terry, man. Terry is just known for being able to do something to Philly, right? And that one was absolutely beautiful, and it breaks my heart on the interception to see Quinyon Mitchell do the Terry McLaurin spooky thing and run off the field, and it's just like, oh, which makes the loss so much worse. But it's just like, I want another crack at him, you know? Just give me another crack at him. Just give me another opportunity, man. I would love to be able to do that to them. And then the next drive defensively was the Marshawn Lattimore penalties, where for some reason he got flagged for his helmet being ripped off, and then wrestling with AJ Brown, but nothing for AJ Brown. Thought that was kind of weird, but look, I know everyone else did as well. I don't know what we're doing here, but that just seemed to be the name of the game for overall today. The next one was the kickoff fumble by Jeremy McNichols. And that was all in the first half. And Washington, this was their biggest deficit of the season in this game. And it's the turnovers. And it's just that, as a young team, you expect it. You thought that maybe that would transpire against the Lions, but they really came out firing on all cylinders against the Lions. But the turnovers, man, that kickoff fumble, the game was 20-12 at that time. And that, I thought, was the difference in the game, ultimately. At 20-12, letting the offense have the opportunity to go down the field. We got a little bit of time to work with. Possibly make this a tie game before the half and the Eagles get the ball back. But that's when the scales really, that tip happened, is that fumble where the Eagles then come out and able to get that touchdown, 27-12 at this point. It was brutal, man. I wish Washington could have come out better in this game. And you thought maybe it's like one bad half, one good half. That second half was even worse. And it was so bad, dude. I stopped taking notes at that point. But the big run by Jaden Daniels with 39 seconds left before the half, I thought that was huge. Even though you're down 27-12, Jaden with 39 seconds just operates the way he's supposed to, get the ball down the field, get you into a field goal territory. You get the field goal 27-15. You feel good with momentum. And then you need the defense to come out to start the second half on fire. You have to make sure that you're giving the ball back to the offense to swing the momentum of this game and to go down the field, score some points. And ultimately, that's not ended up what happening. Where Washington did force a punt with the Dorrance Armstrong sack, which was absolutely huge. Then, of course, Washington comes out immediately and does a 3-and-out. It sucks. We didn't get the complimentary football. But I think, for the most part, we're walking away from this thing just saying, I mean, look, everyone can say it's not about house money. It is about house money. At the end of the day, that's all it is. You're in your first year of a new regime, a new general manager, and you made it to the NFC Championship game with a rookie quarterback. That's crazy. Let's just take that in. That's house money. You're going into next year with momentum and standards. A lot of teams in the NFL right now are trying to find momentum and standards. And I think at this point you could say that Washington has solidified those two things. So walk with your chin up, man. It sucks that you got your ass whooped. But, like I said before, I'd rather get my ass whooped at this point than not make it at all. Because it's all about trying to build that sustainability. And you really made a mark on the NFL this year. Washington needed to be respected more than usual. I mean, Washington has always been looked at as, just not that annoying cousin, the smelly cousin, I guess you could say, where it's like, oh, okay, I guess we'll give him some credit over here, but for the most part, that's the one you're dunking on, and everything like that, all the commercials. But this year, Washington really, demanded the respect of their counterparts. Like every game, it seemed like every game, somebody originally at the beginning of the season was saying, "Oh, it's a college offense. They haven't played us yet." They get humbled, and so it's just funny that how quickly they became from no, I'm kind of doubting them to actually, you know what? Don't say anything about them. Let's just be quiet, let go in and try to limit our guy as much as we can. I'm sorry, boys. I'm begging. I'm trying to help with this one out. Yeah. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you walk away happy and proud, and you always remember that this was like my wife was saying. I told her, I was like, "What for your birthday? You want Jaden Daniels jersey?" I was just screwing with her. She was like, "No, no, no," and she was like, "You can't buy jerseys because then if you buy a jersey from somebody, then they're off the team." I was like, "Oh, yes, in the past that is correct, but this is entirely different, given the fact that the guys that you would have bought it from before didn't really achieve anything. Whereas if you're getting somebody from the new one, like Jane Daniels, you could say certifiably that guy brought us the NFC Championship game, and for years to come, you could justify that jersey. And it's a completely different circumstances now, so you can feel safe with getting jerseys. Like I would get Mikey Sainristil 0 in a heartbeat, dude. I mean, that kid didn't have the best game today, but that kid just plays football, man. I love that kid. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments, as probably annoying as this all is. Um, I just wanted to say, this season has been such a blessing. Um, kind of seeing the revival of Washington and hope. I said it last week where they Washington was a desert, of hope. It was just a hopeless desert. And this team in one season was able to be a waterfall of belief, to the point where we were really anticipating this Super Bowl. And like it's one thing to say that, right? It's one thing to say, "Oh yeah, we're trying to get to the Super Bowl." But it's another thing to actually be there and be like, "Holy crap, we have a chance at the Super Bowl." And for Washington fans, that's a lot. There's been a lot of things to like be pissed off about over the years. That's hard to do for Washington fans, to get people that riled up, to get people that excited for you. That's hard to do. And this band of misfit toys really did come together and produce probably the most magical, not yet because they haven't won a Super Bowl, but magical seasons that you could look back to say nobody was expecting this. Nobody. Not like you could say they were going to be good, but you didn't think that they were going to NFC Championship and to be able to go up to Detroit and lay a licking on them. And so you got to hang your head up high, man. This is, as much as it is a losing kind of aspect, you got to lose with dignity too. You got to take it on the chin. You got your ass whooped. Just remember that. Like, so when you go into a playoff game, like that shit's not happening again. And like obviously they know now what not to do at that stage. And I thought that they had kind of learned that over the first two games of not committing turnovers, but it's not like they're trying to, of course. You know what I mean? But it's just things that you can't do. I wish somebody will answer me and what's going on with that Tyler badass thing where he comes out with the ball at the bottom of the pile and they give it to Philly. Like, sorry everybody, I just had a coughing attack. But I would love to know why that transpired and why we got shot hockeyly. I think New York has a lot to do with that. But everybody, I'm going to get out of here. It's been a blessing. We'll be back on Wednesday. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.